We have to give them.
Patient or the doctor?
We have to keep their privacy.
It is
It's
public.
public
I
information.
hear you.
listed that he went to
And
the
you're
right
going to allow this to
guys,
fester
guys,
longer, Karine,
guys,
unless the White House
guys,
answers the
hold on a
question.
second. There's no reason to get back and go back and forth and be in this
We're
aggressive
all
way.
miffed around here about how information's been shared with the press corps
What
about him.
do you missed about?
Oh,
What do you miss
everything
about?
he just asked about.
What do you? And then every time I come back and I answer the question that
And
you guys
answered it
asked.
correctly, you didn't have to come back and clean it up.
I
a
never
few days
answered the
later.
question incorrectly. That is not true. I was asked about a medical exam. I was asked about a physical. That was in the line of question that I answered. All right, last question. Go ahead.
Thank you, Karine. Thank you, Admiral. I was just wondering, with the renewed spotlight and scrutiny on President Biden in public settings this week, how he's preparing for the NATO summit, how you guys are deciding how many questions to take at the press conference.
You gotta ask the press secretary that one.
You're the one who's prepping him for a lot of this on matters of national security and foreign policy.
So am I.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a team effort.
I will let Karine talk about the press conference, the big boy press conference that y'all are planning to have. But he has already had discussions with his national security team in the lead up to the summit, as you might expect that he would. He's reviewing material. He's doing his homework and getting ready. He's got the first major set of remarks tomorrow night at the Mellon Auditorium. He's working his way through those remarks as you would expect him to do. And he's getting ready for at least the two bilateral meetings that we know he's going to have specifically with the new Prime Minister of the UK and President Zelensky later in the week. So what I have seen from my perch is the normal amount of preparatory work that he does before a major international conference. No different than how he prepared for the G7 or for the events in Normandy or previous international fora. So it's pretty typical from what I've seen.
And do you expect Vice President Harris to play a role in the events this week or to take any meetings during the time that she'll be in Washington?
I can't speak for the Vice President's staff and team, but I can have them get back to you about what her schedule is going to look like.
Thank you so much, Admiral.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Admiral. Okay. Well, all the debate questions have been answered. Press conference answered. Let me close my book and get out of here. Hi, Zeke.
Thanks, Karine. My first to you is on the credibility of this White House when it comes to talking about the president's health. When you were here last Tuesday, you were asked if the president had had any medical examinations since his physical in February, or that included the time period after the debate. You said flatly no. 3 days later, you admitted the president had a quote, short check-in with the medical team thereafter. I mean, those are two very different answers.
No. Actually, if you were to listen to I think I did a 30-minute gaggle on Friday, 30 minutes with I think it was with the pool, and I said he did not have a medical. I cleared it up. You're right. You're correct. I said he didn't. I still stand, but he didn't have a medical exam. I said that in the gaggle, and you're right. I said that in the briefing. He had a check-in. And he said this on Friday. He had a check-in with his medical doctor, which is something that he does a couple times a week, as you know, and I stated this as well. He has for those who don't know, obviously outside of the briefing room, outside of the White House, many Americans don't actually understand this. So let's take a step back. They deal with their medical issues or physicals very, very differently. They are they are lucky if they get to see their doctor once or twice a year, right? They have to get in a car. They have to either take public transportation in order to make that happen. The president's medical unit is literally down on the other side of the colonnade, is just down the steps from the residence. And so a couple times a week, he does a check-in, a verbal check-in with his doctor while he's exercising. That is something that happens often. Matter of fact, he did a check-in today because I know folks were going to ask about if he was tested for COVID. He was not. We are following CDC guidance. He was not tested for COVID, just to let you guys know about that one. And if he has any symptoms, obviously, we would test him.
Is that
But
in the context of the second gentleman's diagnosis?
yes, which is why. No. It's in context of the second gentleman. But to answer your point, he did not have a medical exam. He did not have a physical. He did do like a verbal check-in with his doctor a couple days after the debate, and it was very quick. It was a couple of words that were spoken to each other, and that's how we were able to give you that answer. But he did not have a medical exam. He did not have a physical.
You said no, though, last Tuesday.
Yeah.
Did you know about that verbal check-in, or
No.
did we just not ask him
No.
precise enough questions?
So the line of questions that I was getting that day was in the way that I was hearing the question was about the medical exam. I answered MJ's question when she asked me medical exam, and I answered and I said no, physical. And then somebody else asked me, was there a check-in? I did not mean to steer anybody wrong. I was still thinking about the medical exam. I was still thinking about the physical. That's how I answered the question. And then when it became, when the president actually spoke to it, I went back, asked the medical doctor, and he said they had a verbal check-in. That's what he said. But in answering the question, I was talking about the medical exam. I was talking about the physical.
And then quick ones. There's been a lot of reporting in the last 24
Sure.
hours about a Parkinson's expert who's come to visit the White House almost a dozen times over the last year or so, including at least one meeting with the president's physician. Could you state, like, very clearly, yes or no, was that expert here to participate in anything surrounding the care of the President of the United States?
So let me just say a couple of things. We have had a comprehensive, and I just want to take another step back, comprehensive physical examination. The president has had that. We've given a comprehensive report. We've shared that the past 3 years. Every year that he has had this exam, he sees a neurologist. And just to give you a quote from that, from the report most recently in February, an extremely detailed neurological exam was again reassuring in that there were no findings which would be consistent with any cerebellar or other central neurological disorder such as a stroke, multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's, or ascending lateral sclerosis, end quote. So that came directly from in February in that comprehensive report that was provided by the president's doctor to me that I share with all of you. So anyone who is watching can certainly go to our website.
Which was this expert's visits, was multiple visits to the White House pertaining at all to the president's care?
Here's the thing. I've said he has had three. He has had three physicals. In those 3 physicals, that's when he has seen a specialist, a neurological specialist. I have to be super mindful here, and this is why, and I'll explain this to you in a second. There are thousands of military personnel who come onto this White House. Many of them get the care from the White House medical unit, and so need to be super careful. There are, the medical unit hosts a wide range of specialists, from dermatologists to neurologists, and so I cannot speak to every person because there's actually a security reasons to protect their privacy. We respect and protecting people's privacy, so do not want to share. I'm not going to share people's names from here, but the president, I can tell you, has seen a neurologist 3 times, as it's connected to a physical that he gets every year that we provide to all of you.
It's a very basic, direct question.
Wait, hold on, wait a second.
8 times, or at least once, in regards to the president specifically.
Hold on a second.
Not what you should be able to answer by this point.
Wait, no. No, wait a minute. Ed, please. A little respect here, please. So every year, around the president's physical examination, he sees a neurologist. That's 3 times, right? So I am telling you that he has seen a neurologist 3 times while he has been in this presidency. That's what I'm saying. I am telling you that he has seen them 3 times. That is what I'm sharing with you, right? So every time he has a physical, he has had to see a neurologist. So that is answering that question.
No, it's not.
No, it is. It is. You're
Dr.
asking me.
Cannard,
I
come to the White
cannot.
House.
But I
specifically about
also
the
said
president's
to you,
condition.
Ed. I also said to you, for security reasons, we cannot share names. We cannot share names.
You cannot
We
share
have to.
names
We have
of
to.
others he would have met with.
We
but
cannot-
You can share names
No,
in regards to if
We-
someone came here in
No,
regards
we
to the
cannot
president.
share. We cannot share names of specialists broadly, from a dermatologist to a neurologist. We cannot share names. There are security reasons. We have to. We have to protect.
It's public.
I understand that.
looked it up before I came out
I
here.
hear
He's
you.
right there for anyone to see.
Ed, I hear you. I cannot from here confirm any of that because we have to keep their privacy. I think they would appreciate that too. We have to give them.
Patient or the doctor?
We have to keep their privacy.
It is
It's
public.
public
information.
information.
I
It is
hear you.
listed that he
I
went
am.
to
And you're
the
going
I-
to allow this to
guys,
fester
guys,
longer, Karine,
guys,
unless the White House
Guys,
answers the
hold on a
question.
second. There's no reason to go back and forth and be in
Well,
this
we're
aggressive
a little
way.
miffed around here about how information's been shared with the press corps
What do
about him.
you missed about?
Oh,
What do you miss
everything
about?
he just asked about.
What do you? And then every time I come back and I answer the question that
And
you guys
answered it
asked.
correctly, you didn't have to come back and clean it up.
I
a
never
few days
answered the
later.
question incorrectly. That is not true. I was asked about a medical exam. I was asked about a physical. That was in the line of question that I answered. And I said, no, he did not have a medical exam. And I still stand by that. Matter of fact, the president still stands by that. He had a verbal check-in. That is something that the president has a couple times a week. A couple times a week.
Now in regards to Dr. Kevin Cannard.
And I am telling you right now that I am not sharing confirming names from here. It is the security reasons. I am not going to do that, Ed. It doesn't matter how hard you push me. It doesn't matter how angry you get with me. I'm not going to confirm a name. It doesn't matter if it's even in the log. I am not going to do that from here. That is not something I am going to do. What I can share with you is that the president has seen a neurologist for his physical 3 times. 3 times. And it is in the reporting that we share a comprehensive reporting. Matter of fact, it's more than what the last guy shared, and it is in line with what George W. Bush did. It's in line with what Obama did. And so it is comprehensive. It is out there. I just read a quote from it, but I am not going to devolve somebody's name or confirm someone. I'm not going to do that. That is as privacy for that person. I'm not going to do that. It doesn't matter how hard you push me. It doesn't matter how angry you get with me from here. I'm just not going to do that. It is inappropriate and it's not acceptable. So I'm not going to do it.
Not about the name.
Go ahead.
If you
Okay.
cannot confirm the name, can you confirm whether or not the president has seen this Parkinson's specialist? And you mentioned 3 times, but the visitor logs show a duration of 8 visits over 8 months. I think that is the crux of the question.
But I also said there are thousands of military personnel that come to the White House, and they are under the care of the medical unit. They are.
So can you confirm that the Parkinson's specialist visits were for the president or not?
What I can tell you is that the president has seen a neurologist 3 times, and I read to you what the neurologist has said, and I read to you the last line. I could say it again. No findings which would be consistent with any cerebellar or other central neurological disorders such as stroke, multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's, or ascending lateral sclerosis. That is from February. That is coming from February. That is what the medical unit, the president's doctor shared. And I said to you, it's happened 3 times. Each time there is a physical that occurs and we put out a comprehensive report. That is when he has been able to see a specialist. So that's what I can share.
Question on this. Has the president, you mentioned Parkinson's, multiple sclerosis, all of these things. One diagnosis that we have heard of, potential diagnosis, is hydrocephalus, which is fluid buildup in the brain. It's something we've never heard in any of the medical reports. Is that something that the president has been evaluating?
If it's not in the medical report, obviously it's not something that the president is dealing with. Well, I can tell you this. Just going back to Parkinson's for a little bit, so to give you some answers here, has the president been treated for Parkinson's? No. Is he being treated for Parkinson's? No, he's not. Is he taking medication for Parkinson's? No. So those are the things that I can give you full-blown answers on, but I'm not going to confirm a specialist, any specialist that comes to the White House out of privacy.
Question is, will the president go to the Hill today? I know we saw his letter. Is he intending to have this conversation face to face with him?
So look, the president, obviously this is someone who is a senator for 36 years, who was the president of the Senate as when he was vice president for 8 years. And he truly respects the members of Congress, and has always and will always do that, especially as a former senator. And I will say, and you've heard us say this before, or most recently, is this is a president who's won the primary, right, by 14 million votes, 87% of those votes, so certainly. And look, I don't have any engagements to read out, outside of that. But I will say that the president was in Pennsylvania. I just mentioned at the top, he got to see Senator Fetterman, Senator Casey. He also got to see Congresswoman Dean. He spent some time with them. They traveled across Pennsylvania. And I will say, when the president gets knocked down, he gets back up. This is quintessential Joe Biden. And there are a long list of other congressional members who have shown their support for this president. I don't have anything else to read out. You saw the letter. The letter was, I think, pretty clear on where the president stands, and I'll just leave it there.
You've noted that there are thousands within the Walter Reed system who may be treated by a specialist who visits here at the White House. But this neurologist had a meeting with the president's physician, with his doctor. You're refusing to say if he was here to evaluate the president or if he was consulting on the president's health. So what then was that meeting about?
And I will say that Dr. O'Connor leads the medical unit. He leads the medical unit. No, because we will not confirm or speak to names that you're providing to me. It is out of security reason, is out of protecting someone's privacy. We're just not going to do that. But they are. The reason that I mention that is because there are 1,000 military members that do indeed use the White House medical unit. They do. They get care from that.
We're talking about the president of the United States.
Guys, I'm trying to answer the question so you can connect the dot that there are multiple neurologists that come, not neurologists, specialists that come through here because there are more than 1,000 medical military personnel here.
But you certainly could clear this all up just by saying what he was doing here and if it was connected to the president, yes or no.
I am not going to confirm a particular neurologist, anybody. It doesn't matter if they're a dermatologist or a neurologist. I'm just not going to do that. I shared with all of you that the president has been with the neurologist 3 times as it relates to his physical, 3 times. So I'm just not going to do that out of security reasons, out of privacy. It is not something that I'm going to do. A measure of privacy we have to be able to give people from here.
One other question. The president's doctor, you say, has seen no reason to evaluate him for Parkinson's since his physical in February. Is that based on these verbal check-ins that you've been describing, based on his public appearances?
Wait, say that one more time.
You said that the president's doctor has seen no reason to evaluate him or reevaluate him for Parkinson's since that physical in February. What is that based on? Is it these verbal check-ins?
I never said
That's
that.
what the White House has said.
Well, what I have said is is that he just had a physical just in February, and the physical was very clear. It was a comprehensive physical. We gave out a report on that, and as it relates to the check-ins, that is something that is common. The president has a medical unit that is literally down the hall that he's able to check in with when necessary. They normally do it while he's exercising. That is not uncommon. It is very different. Than any everyday American. They do not have that option. They do not have that access because he's president of the United States. Every other president has had that access, and they are able to do that.
So just to be clear, yes or no, has his physician seen a reason to reevaluate him for Parkinson's since the February physical?
No, the comprehensive report that you all have stands. The president obviously will have another physical, and we'll wait for that physical.
Great.
Yeah.
So the president has said twice that he's had neurological evaluations as part of his physicals, in these various interviews today and also on ABC. But there have been a number of people who have said, listen, why don't you have a cognitive test just to rule out that there are any issues? Would the president, would you counsel him to do that just to sort of put an end to these questions?
Andre, I hear you. The neurologists have said it is not warranted. The president himself, he said it today, he said it multiple times, and the doctor has said this. Everything that he does day in and day out as it relates to delivering for the American people is a cognitive test. And that is what the medical doctor has said. That is what the specialist has said. I just want to take a step back for a second, because I do take offense to what Ed alluded to. Come out here every day, there's a press briefing, and we do our best to give you the information that we have at the time. That's what we do. And we understand that the freedom of the press, we respect the freedom of the press. You heard me talk about this last week. I appreciate the back and forth that we all have. I try to respect you, and I hope you try to respect me. And we literally do everything that we can. My team does everything that we can to make sure we get the answers to you. That's what we do. And sometimes we disagree. Sometimes we are not in agreement. But you know what? That's democracy. That is what is important, to have that healthy back and forth. And so to say that I'm holding information or allude to anything else is not unfair. It's really, really unfair. I think people who are watching and have been watching this briefing for this past week could say that we are doing our best in this briefing to provide the information that we have. And I will admit, I will be the first one to admit, sometimes I get it wrong. At least I admit that. At least I admit that. And sometimes I don't have the information. And I will always, always admit that. But I do take offense to what was just happening at the beginning of this briefing. It's not okay. Go ahead.
We are seeking clarity.
I understand that.
And I think what we're trying to say is when a name is in a public record on a WAVES form, that it is in the public domain.
Yep.
The president could authorize that his medical records or additional medical information could be made public because he could waive HIPAA, he could do those things.
Yep.
And if he chooses to do that, we would like to know more. Part of the reason we are pressing here is that we are not clear on what has happened, and therefore the American people to whom we report don't have a sense of it. So that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
And so
But the personal attacks is not okay.
and
So
we want to have a
I just want to be
positive.
very, very clear here.
So the question is, one question is, after a debate that drew days and days and days of scrutiny, why hasn't the president had an in-person physical check-in? Maybe blood work, maybe other things,
Yeah.
because when he said he was seen, I certainly thought he had been physically seen, not a phone check-in.
No.
So and that's part of what we're saying about how information comes out in waves, and then we may have a
20%.
different impression. So
And I totally
this has
understand that.
dominated his presidency
Yeah.
for 10 days, and he could submit to another exam, a full exam, partial exam, whatever. He can waive his right to make things public. None of us are asking about the military members who might be seeing a physician here. None of us. We are only asking about
Yeah.
the president's well-being.
Understood.
And so that's why we want to understand. When you see
Yeah.
on the public records that a physician with his specialty has come to the White House, gone to the residence clinic, and met with the president's physician, we feel like there is more to be said there, and that's what we're asking.
And I understand that, Kellyo, and you know I respect you wholeheartedly, and I've known you for some time. We want to be also, because we are talking about someone whose name who is out there, and I understand. I get it. It's in the law. I get that. It's in the law. We want to respect that person and give them the measure of privacy that they deserve. The moment I say anything about any specialist, it becomes a thing from this podium. So what I can share, and this is what I can share, he has seen a neurologist 3 times. 3 times, not more than that. Not more than that. He's seen a neurologist 3 times. And that is connected to the physical, the comprehensive physical that we have been able to share with you. So I think that gives you some information about how many times. 3 times. And the reason why I am sharing that there are thousands of military personnel, so you also have an understanding, because there are 1,000 military personnel that comes here, and that not just comes here, but under the care of the medical unit, right? They get care from the White House medical unit. There tends to be dermatologists, from dermatologists to neurologists who come through here because the White House medical unit is indeed caring for folks. So I have confirmed 3 times. I just cannot get into details or confirm a name of a person. I cannot do that. There's security reasons. We have to give people a measure of
He would
privacy.
waive some of his records and make those
Well, I
public.
don't know how all of that works. I'm not going to pretend I know how that works. And what I will do is certainly will share that information with the powers that be. I just don't want to get into a back and forth on that particular question.
Thanks, Karine. I mean, to Kellyo's point, the president today, when he called into Morning Joe, he said that he had released all of his medical records. Should we take that as an indication that he's going to do so?
Well, look, what I can say is that we have shared a comprehensive medical report that is pretty detailed, that is in line with other presidents, certainly not the last one, but the ones, the 2 before the last president. And we have been pretty much in line with what they have done. To be more clear, George W. Bush and also President Obama. So we've been,
One did let his doctors come to the briefing room to speak to us.
okay, and we know what that last president said from this briefing room, okay? So,
Call
and
today.
only did three or four paragraphs. Very different approach.
During the call today to MSNBC,
Yeah, sure.
was the president reading off of a script?
So I was in the room when the president called into Morning Joe. The president spoke from his heart. The president was very clear. There was no script at all. And he was very detailed. You heard him say actually during the call that he was reading some quotes. He said it. He shared that information. He was reading some quotes from the debate. So he shared that with you. What you heard was a passionate interview. It was about 18 minutes. He talked about and laid out his vision for this country. He talked about how he wants to make sure we move forward. I want to be really careful because he also talked about the campaign, which I can't do from here. But he I think it was incredibly powerful.
Quotes, but not from a script?
Nope, it was not a script.
In a big boy
was in the
press
room.
conference,
It was
how
not
many
a script.
questions should we expect that he is going to take?
So look, it is going to be a solo press conference. It is going to be certainly more than a 2+2. I'm not gonna. We're still working it out, so I'm not gonna go into specifics from here. But you could expect a solo press conference from this president at the end of the NATO summit. He's looking forward to it, and he will be taking your questions. So that'll be a good thing.